Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Dawn Duvall. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up, and I have been doing this craziness for almost 15 years. I'm coming to you pre-recorded in Fort Myers, Florida. As you all know, most of you who follow me, I am on taking a little bit of a vacation, about a week, a little over a week, heading to Virginia, to the Virginia Beach and Williamsburg area to visit friends and family. So I decided that I would pre-record our video for this evening, and we're going to do a one sheet wonder, which is actually in the mini catalog. They did a craft along. Stampin' Up did a craft along, I don't know, a month or so ago. And if you go to page 42 in your catalog, you're going to see, and you'll see on page 42 the pictures of the how they cut the paper. And I've got the instructions here on the table, and I'll let you take us, you'll be able to look at that once I flip the camera down. So I wanted to go ahead and do that. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera down. Give me just a minute, because you know how that goes. I have to do all that. Flip it around, and I think we'll be good. Let me get this in here. All right, let's turn this down just a little bit more so we have, whoops, hang on. I'm going to get this right here. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so get my computer out of the way. All right, so this is page 42, and as you can see, this is how they've cut it. And then these are some various ways that they've used that paper and decorated, if you look on page 43 as well. Now, one thing keep in mind is they have used some of the papers, and I'll go over the instructions in just a minute. They have used some of the paper that they have you cut to die cut pieces out of it, different shapes or things that they want to do. Okay, so just be aware of that. Page 42 and 43 in the new mini catalog for September, December of 2025. Okay, so this is the template that I was able to retrieve from Stampin' Up of how they cut the paper. If you want to take a snapshot of this, or if you want to get a copy, leave me a comment, tutorial, put down tutorial or a cutting guide probably would be better. And I can message this or text it to you or what have you, or email it, either way. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make some Christmas cards, since we're getting kind of close to Christmas, and I'm using the Traditions of Christmas 12 by 12 paper pack, which you've probably seen. Most of the 12 by 12 papers come in 12 sheets. Normally it's 2 designs of 6 sheets. So if you haven't seen these papers, I'm going to show you real quick. You get 2 of each design. Isn't this gorgeous? All right, and then you've got this one with the back of that. This is the one side. This is the other side. And the same, here we go. This one, let me flip this one over. All right, so this is the back side of this one. And this is some really pretty, it's cherry cobbler with old olive and gold inside. That's attached. And then here are the next 2. Aren't they pretty? And this is like a pinkish color. And then the cherry cobbler again. And then the last one, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And then this is the back of, this is the back of that sheet here. So this one is the back of this one. And then look at this one. Isn't this pretty? This is the back. There's the back. This is the back, and this is the other side. Isn't that gorgeous paper? So this is the Traditions of Christmas. So I'm going to go ahead and give you, we're going to go ahead and follow the instructions on cutting. So we'll go ahead and get this cut into the pieces that we need. And then from there, we'll build our cards. What I'm going to do, I'll probably make the cards ahead of time, and then I'll walk through how I design them and what all I did accordingly, and make it a little bit shorter video. Okay, so we've got our the paper here. We're going to make 3 cuts that are all going to be cut, since we're doing 12 by 12, we're going to cut 3 strips at 4 inches. So 3 times 4 is 12, right? So we're going to do 3 strips of 4 inches each. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is the back side of that paper. So it really doesn't have a pattern per se. So I don't think it's going to matter how we cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up at 4 inches, and we're going to cut this down. And then I'm going to take this and turn it. Well, actually, let me, now 2 of these are going to be the same. So this first row and the third row, so 1, 2, 5, there's another 5, 5, and 4. So this one and this one are the same cutting measurements. So I'm going to cut 3 of these. I'm going to go ahead and cut my 3 4-inch pieces. This could just make it easier. So we're going to line up this again. We're going to do another 4-inch cut mark. So we got lined up at 4. We'll go ahead and cut that down. Okay. So now we're going to take these 2 pieces and we're going to cut them together because we're going to cut the first and the third section. All right. So I'm putting it in the trimmer at in the landscape mode. And the first cut, I'm looking down here. The first set says we want 4 inches by 5 1/4. So we're going to line this up to 5 1/4, which is our card base, card size, right? The first paper, first layer when we lay it on top of our cardstock. So we're going to cut that at 5 1/4, and that's going to be the same for this one as well. So that's 5 1/4, and of course it's by 4 inches. So we're going to set that off to the side. And then it says we're going to do another one like that. So we're going to do another 4 by 5 1/4. So we know it's already at 4, right? So we're going to move this to the 5 1/4 mark. So that's going to give us 2 more, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 that are 4 by 5 1/4. And then that leaves us with this 4-inch piece by 1 1/2. So we have 2 of those. All right, so that's the first column and then the third column here. So now we're going to cut the middle column, and I'm going to start down. Well, let's just start at the top. It says we want 4 inches by 3 3/4. So we're going to line this up to 3 3/4, and we're going to cut that one down. And then we want a 4 by 5 1/4, which is that one. So 4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to move this all the way down to 5 1/4. And then that should leave us with a 4 by 3-inch strip. And we've got 3 inches by 4. So that is exactly what we need. So that's our third column there. All right, so now let's get to the cards and see what we need to do. Okay, I am back with the cards that I created, and let's go through the sketch here, and I'll show you what I've done. I'm using the Traditions of Christmas designer paper. And so the first card with the number 1, this is the design. Now you don't have to do it exactly. So this is my take on the number 1. I did this with the gold cherry cobbler and the gold. I did cut out a circle out of our gold foil and then stamped a sentiment in cherry cobbler and popped that up on dimensionals. And then I cut a 1/2 inch piece off and added that to the inside of the card. So there is my take on the picture of number 1 for that design. Now number 2 is using, again, it's the same 4 by 5 1/4 cut. So I took a piece of old olive and made the card base at 4 1/4 by 11 and scored it at 5 1/2. And then I just used a circle die and cut out, and this is number 2, cut out my circle out of old olive, and I placed some retired twine behind it, stamped my sentiment, and popped this up on dimensionals. So very similar to the number 2 design. I just lowered mine down rather than putting it in the top corner. Okay, so that's card number 2. And then number 3 is showing an oval. Number 3 again is using one of the 4 by 5 1/4 pieces of designer paper. And I did using the Jolly Delivery stamp set, and I used one of our dies and cut out, it was one of the stitch rectangle dies if I'm not mistaken, and die cut that, and then I stamped the mailbox, all of the envelopes, and then die cut the envelopes out using the die that comes along with that. And I used my Stampin' Blends to color them. And then I used a leftover piece of scrap designer paper that I had and stamped the sentiment on here. And then on the inside, I added my basic white. And again, I added a strip of a 1/2 inch of the same designer paper to carry that forward. All of my insides are left blank so that I can stamp them or write my message at a later time. So you can see how you can take the design and change it to be what you want it to be. So instead of having an oval, I just went ahead and did a rectangle and placed it on the card front at an angle. Okay, so that's card number 3 using the 4 by 5 1/4 designer piece of paper. Now the next one is number 4, and that is using, that one was supposed to use 4 by 3 3/4. Well, I didn't pay attention, so I used one of the 4 by 4s, and I'll show you what I did with this one. So this is a 4 by 4. I did apply that to a piece of cherry cobbler. I cut out 2 gold foil 1/2 inch strips, and then I cut an oval or punch. I had one of these left over in my cherry cobbler cardstock. I ran it through the embossing folder. It's one of the snowflake ones that's been retired. I stamped the sentiment on basic white using the cherry cobbler, and that stamp set comes from the retired Christmas to Remember. So I do keep quite a few of my Christmas stamps that have the sentiments that I like. So that's what I stamped there, pop that up on Dimensionals. And then again, I carried the piece of 4-inch piece over to the inside of the card to bring that coordination over. So this is number 4. However, I didn't use the 3 by 4. I used a 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so that's that one. Now this one is number 5. And this one I did on old olive cardstock, and this is cut at 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. I cut another piece at 4 by 5 1/4 and ran that through the Soft Waves embossing folder. And then I cut the 2 strips, which this is number 5. So the 2 strips right here, this is the one that says to use a 4 by 5 1/4. I went ahead and changed it and used the cardstock for the 5 1/4. And then I cut 2 strips down that are 1 1/2 inches by 4. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is 4 inches by 1 1/2 inches. I flipped one over, so I attached those both. The one's a little bit lower. And then I found an oval die that I punched out of cherry cobbler, and then I used the modern oval punch, and I stamped the Peace, Love, and Joy from the Peace on Earth stamp set that is current. And what I did was I took some repositioning tape and I masked the other words that I didn't want. So I covered up the Love and Joy, inked up the Peace in red, stamped that, and then I cleaned it, came back and did the Love and Old Olive and cleaned it, and then did again and the Joy. And those were all masked as I did the different colors. So that's how you can make different colors. Now, if you have your Stampin' Right markers, if it was a red rubber cling stamp, that would work, but this is photopolymer, so it's really best to do it the way I did it. The Stampin' markers don't really hold well on the photopolymer. So that's what I did on this particular card. And then I did carry that strip over again to the inside. So this is number 5 on the design for the template. All right, and then we moved over to number 6. And what I did on this one is number 6, I used the 4 by 3, which is right here. And I used a 4 by 3, and then I took some old retired ephemera packs that we had that had some holiday greetings in there. So I just coordinated this. I like the circle, so I placed that in the center, stamped in Misty Moonlight, and then I found that bow that coordinated as well. So I thought that was pretty neat. And then I cut a strip 1/2 inch and placed on the inside with my basic white piece. So that is number 6 design. All right. Now I have 2 extra designs. So here is the other 3 by 4. which would be this, I'm sorry, hang on a minute. It should be the 4 by 3 3/4. Hold on a second. Yeah, this is the 3" by 4 inches. So we have the 3" by 4. This one, let me back up for just a second because I just realized on number 5, the one I did here, this one, my apologies. Let me go back to number 5. Number 5 is using the number 5 up here, which is these 4 by 1.5 inch strips. So that was my mistake. It's this one here was number 5. This is based on the number 5 template. So I misspoke on this particular card. So this one is designed exactly like this, using the number 5s here, which are the two 1.5 inch strips by 4. Okay, I want to clear that one up. Okay, so this is the other 3 by 4, and that's number 6. And my apologies on that one. So number 6 is, this would have been number 6 right here. The one I talked about, that was a 4 by 3, so that was number 6. And again, this one I just placed the circle in the center rather than up towards the top. Okay, so I have another 4 by 3 that I cut, and this one again I used some of the pieces from an ephemera pack that's retired, and I just added the snowman on Dimensionals, found a couple of little decorative pieces, and then this sentiment here is from the Jolly Delivery, which is right here. Hope this Christmas is the most magical yet, and I did stamp that in the Misty Moonlight so that it coordinated with the colors within the snowman. And then the last one is the 4 by 4 3/4, which would be number 4, which I did a little bit differently. So this is an extra card I designed. I put a piece of gold foil paper behind it, which is measured at 4 1/4 by 4. And then I put the reverse side of the designer paper and brought in the golden cherry cobbler. This is retired ribbon, which I thought worked really well because it is cherry cobbler with gold. And then this sentiment is from a retired stamp set as well. And again, that comes from the Christmas to Remember set. This one's got a lot of great sentiments in here, so I use that one as well. So I punched that out with a retired punch and then popped that up on Dimensionals. And then the inside, I did the same thing by adding a strip of the coordinating paper on a piece of basic white. So in this, based on this, with the paper that I cut from a 12 by 12, I was able to get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, 6 using this design and then 2 others. So that's what I created using this template. So I will set this off to the side. So if you didn't get the opportunity to photograph this the first go round, here it is again. So you can snapshot that, and that will give you some ideas. And if nothing else, as you can see what I did, you tweak it to what works for you. All right, so that is the cards that I created, 8 cards. And if you need anything or have any questions, reach out to me. I am available even though we are out of town. I will be available by message or email, whichever. All right, thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you when I return.